Hi guys, I'm Tab and today we've got my 570S. Before this one was a C63S for coupe. That car was simply phenomenal in terms of bang for buck. I don't think there's much more on the market that would compete with that at that level. And that engine, the M177, was absolutely fantastic. It is a torque monster, so you get that instant low-down torque from about 2,000 RPM, and it just pulls all the way. And it's an under square engine, so it's very happy at that part of the rev range. But when you get higher up the rev range, that M177 variant of the engine really starts to struggle breathing. It just feels restricted between about 6,000 to 7,000 RPM. It just feels like it's that little bit strangled, and that is because it's a cross-plane crank, and there's only so much you can get out of cross-plane crank, especially higher up the rev range. The exhaust gases can't exit properly, and the whole engine just feels strangled. This engine, the M838 3.8 litre twin turbo, is fantastic. 562 brake horsepower, 442 pound-foot of torque, and it's a flat plane crank. An engine that's designed for racing. You notice it as soon as you start it up. It's got that buzz. It vibrates a little bit and it just feels like it wants to go. The throttle response is absolutely phenomenal in this car. Indeed, going back to Mercedes, the M177, the next variant of that's the M178, the dry sump for the AMG GT. That variant that's coming out for the AMG GT Black Series is going to be a flat plane crank, and that is an admission of the guys at AMG GT who've had cross-plane forever, that to get a true race car with that high 720 brake horsepower, you kind of need to be looking at a different design offering, and that's exactly what they're doing. One of the other comments that is often made about this car is the sound of the car, and it is a bit Marmite, I'll give you that, but I really like it. For me, it sounds racy. As you know, this is a flat plane, we've touched on that already, but I think it's fair to say that when you open it up, it has all the right noises, and when you're driving it about in automatic mode, it's nice and quiet. It's easy to deal with. Best of both worlds for me. So I think it's fair to say there is no shortage of clips on YouTube of people having a less than positive experience with the brand. And for me, that is a real shame, because my ownership experience of this car has been absolutely fantastic. I've had the car now for just over a year, and yeah, it's had a few niggles, there is no doubt about it. I think every car does, but it's what they do to put it right that counts. And the guys at McLaren Ascot have been absolutely fantastic. Indeed, there was quite a monumental issue with the car not long after picking it up. But again, they put it right quickly. I had a loan car and all was good. And that's the thing. Customer service departments exist for a reason. They're there to put things right. If everything worked as expected across all the products and services that we buy, there wouldn't be a need for them. But the reality is things do go wrong, and it's what they do to put it right that makes a difference. We've all seen those 5 things I hate about my XYZ car on YouTube. I I don't really see the value in that. In fact, to me, it's a bit of a humble brag. And I think it's also fair to say that there's no shortage of clips on YouTube of other brands on fire in the middle of the road. That's the point here. These guys have only been around for about 9 years. I think the first MP412C rolled off the production line in July 2011. And where they've got to now, in that period of time, I think is unsurpassed and incomparable across the industry. That McLaren DNA is absolutely baked into every model that rolls off the production line. I think Gordon Murray has a lot to thank for this. So, what's this car like as a daily driver? Well, it is surprisingly good. I'm 6'6", so really pushing the boundaries of what you can squeeze into a car like this. But I have to say, it is very comfortable to be in. Admittedly, after a long journey, I'd probably be unfolding myself at the other end. But the driving position is surprisingly good. And I'll come on to that in a bit. But first off, what really is surprising about this car is the ride quality, the compliance of the suspension. It's an area where McLaren really shine. It's something they've done well for years, and it really shows in this car. I've also had the pleasure of driving the 570 GT for a while. That car is even better than this. Around Surrey's bumpy roads, littered with potholes, it does an awesome job of pretending it's a car that is much larger and much more comfortable than it should be. The other thing to note here is the weight of this car. It is about 1,440 kilos, thereabouts, and you feel it in the car. It's light, very easy to push around corners, and very, very nicely balanced. And that ties in brilliantly with the driving position, which is again very good. Visibility, all-round visibility is absolutely fantastic in this car. You really feel confident about being able to see everything that the road is throwing at you. And the pedal layout is again perfect. It is set up beautifully for left foot braking. Indeed, you do all your braking with the left foot in this car when driving it about on a daily basis, because that's just the way it is. For sure, this car does have its foibles. For example, the Iris entertainment system. Sometimes you press a button and you have to make an appointment for the screen to be updated. And I think the windscreen washer fluid is the same size as a hamster's teacup, so you're forever topping that up. Pretty minor things though to live with, and that's not what this car is about. This car is about something that is light, something that is nimble, something that you can track, and something that inspires confidence in your driving. I'm definitely no pro driver, but it does provide you with the knowledge that it's going to do the right things and respond predictably to your control inputs, and that it does very nicely indeed. So really, the ownership experience, the day-to-day driving of this car is great. One thing that did catch me by surprise is the amount of attention that it gets. I looked at other cars when I was deciding on this one, looking at the 911 Turbo, the Audi R8 V10, and also the Nissan GTR. Great car, the Nissan GTR, but I struggled a little bit with the fact it's still a Nissan. So that kind of threw that one off the list. The R8 sounds awesome, but very clinical. And the 911 Turbo, again, brilliant car, but very clinical. And there's quite a lot of them on the road, and this just has a bit more uniqueness. You don't see that many of them, and as a result, that does turn quite a few heads. And I wasn't ready for the amount of attention that it got. I did have a Volcano Orange version of this for a few days whilst this one was in for a service. That got even more attention. So if you don't mind that so much, you have to be prepared to deal with it. But again, a minor aspect of owning such a car. And yeah, generally very, very, very impressed with it. So is this car the best bang for buck in this range? Well, I think it just might be.
McLaren call it a sports car, but I think you could say it's probably a little bit more than that. And the residuals at the moment, although not favourable, put you in a very powerful position as a buyer. So I think there isn't much more out there that's going to compete with this car in this price range.
So that's it for this one. Thanks very much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. Let's talk storage space in this car. So they've really thought about everything. There is a place for all of your belongings, and if we look at the boot here, we can see that it's a perfect place to keep your COVID mask nice and warm too for these modern times. Thanks for your time anyway. See you soon.